The first round of fixtures for the 23-24 UEFA Europa League has concluded. I'm Sideline Sedo, and I'm going to discuss all the results and events from the first round of fixtures from the 23-24 UEFA Europa League group stage. Before we continue, make sure to comment down below what you think of the first week of fixtures, and let's get right into the video. And as always, if you end up enjoying the video, consider giving it a like and consider subscribing. Starting with Group A, West Ham is at the top of the group. They did win 3-1. They did go down 1-0 though. That's something that I think is worth noting here. TSC Bachka Topola, I'm pretty sure they play in the Bosnian League. No, they're in the Serbian League. My apologies. They're a Serbian team, and they got, an own goal that they conceded in the 66th minute following a go-ahead goal from Stanic for Bachka Topola. Following the own goal from Petrovic, Kudus got his goal for West Ham, his first goal for West Ham, and then Souček made it 3-1. Freiburg versus Olympiacos ended 3-2. Freiburg took the lead initially. It was back and forth constantly. There was a penalty in there. In this group, honestly, I think that Bachka Topola, if they had gotten the result, if they managed to get a shock draw or a shock win against West Ham, the group becomes a lot, simpler, or not simpler. It becomes a lot more divisive, I would say, actually. But as of right now, it's fairly straightforward. This is what I expected. Tough loss for Olympiacos and Bachka Topola. Both sides, going throughout the game would probably expected to get at least a point or something, or felt that they could have. But Group B is where things get even saucier. There was a lot of goals in Group B. And Olympiacos Freiburg, by the way, finished 3-2 for Freiburg. But Group B, as you can see right here, AEK Athens is at the top of the group, which is kind of a shock to some people. They beat Brighton, and Brighton was at the Amex. So this is kind of like a shocker. If we look at the lineups, Brighton had a very rotated squad, Steele, Milner, Van Hack, Igor, but still had the likes of, Billy Gilmore in the side, Matoma, Joel Pedro, who scored 2 penalties, Ansu Fati started, and they weren't able to get the win against AEK Athens. I mean, AEK Athens had, 3 separate players, 3 separate goal scorers score, so it doesn't necessarily feel too indicative of Brighton. I haven't watched the match. Admittedly, I didn't watch a single one of these matches because I was working, but I have caught some of the highlights, some of the goals, and, I was following this game, and I was just kind of stunned that, Brighton was down against AEK Athens, but, that should be a bit of a wake-up call for them. We'll see how they progress in just both the Europa League and the Premier League. But Marseille and Ajax finished 3-3. Goals from Jonathan Klaus and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with a brace for Marseille, and Borgs, Berghaus, and Taylor scored for Ajax. Let me see. This feels like a match that would just have ridiculous stats. Yeah, Marseille, even though the match finished 3-3, had almost double the amount of shots. They had 25 shots to Ajax's 13. This is definitely one that I'm going to have to go back and watch some kind of extended highlights too, because that must have been crazy. Did Ndiaye start for Marseille? That's a question. Yeah, Ndiaye did start. So pretty sick. Good for them. But, Brighton and Ajax, 2 sides that are going to definitely want to bounce back. You would assume that the underdogs, quote unquote, of the group, the 2 underdogs, are at the top at this point. But very interesting group taking shape there. Let's see what the next matches are. Next matches are Marseille versus Brighton in France, and then AEK Athens versus Ajax. Oof, that's gonna be a good one, But Ajax Brighton's gonna be another banger. So let's move on to Group C. Group C, Sparta Prague and Rangers are at the top. Real Betis lost today. They lost 1-0 to Rangers thanks to a goal from Abdullah Sima. Rangers have Michael Beale at the wheel, and it didn't look too promising for him at the start of this season. There's been talk of him potentially getting sacked, but this is a win that, against Real Betis at the Ibrox, it's definitely a, not necessarily a statement victory, but it's a good victory nonetheless. 1-0, you take those. You need those in these kind of competitions. So credit to Rangers. As for Sparta Prague, this is another match that had just a goal fest. 3-2 a finish. Krejci scored a brace in the 20th and 25th, but Aris Limassol, I'm so sorry to any fans from Cyprus or any supporters of Aris Limassol. It's just kind of a mouthful for me at times. But they took the lead initially through a penalty from Cochrane, who I'm kind of shocked that he's still playing football. Like, this is the same Cochrane, probably the same Cochrane. He's 32, so that's just kind of crazy. He kind of fell off the face of the earth, but he's back in Europa League, I guess, and scoring for Aris Limassol. But eventually, Vitek got a goal in the 67th, and Xavi, not Xavi, like Xavi and Iniesta, but Xavi, Shavy, he scored in the 90th minute for Aris Limassol. So another interesting group, another bit of shock to the start of the Europa League. People were expecting Real Betis to top this group comfortably. I did as well, but as it stands, we'll see how they get on. Let's see. They have to face Sparta Prague next, so it's a big match here. If they lose that match, then it gets tough, because you would imagine that Sparta Prague's gonna put up good fight against Rangers, but even Rangers, if they beat Aris Limassol, they could start to get some good ground in this group. Moving on to Group D. Group D has Atalanta, Sporting, Sturm Graz, and Rakow. So Atalanta won this match as well against Rakow. 2-0, goals from De Ketelaere and Ederson. Charles De Ketelaere, honestly, the transfer window is one of those things that is such a whirlwind. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that he ended up at Atalanta, if I'm going to be entirely honest with you, but he's a player who I highly rate, and seeing him score in the Europa League is pretty good, because he had a kind of subpar or bad season, let's say, with AC Milan last year. Didn't really find a spot in the squad. I don't know if that's a permanent switch or a loan, but a goal from Ederson as well ended up allowing Atalanta to double their advantage and win. And then in the final group of Group D, well, the second and final group or game of Group D, we have Sporting versus Sturm Graz. And Sturm Graz is, I want to say, an Austrian team. Let's see. Yes, Austrian team. I got it right. Thank God. But they ended up losing 2-1. Goals from Victor Gyökeres and Diamond ended up, neutralizing a 1-0 lead that Sturm Graz took initially in the 58th minute, thanks to Beving. But, these two sides are really going to struggle to get points in this group. So if either one of them wins in this next match, that could be huge, especially if, there's kind of a loss here to one of these, or even a draw. A draw would mean less points overall for both sides. But if, say, Sturm Graz just thumps Rakow or vice versa, and they end up going up to, say, third, and Sporting loses to Atalanta, you could have a very good kind of picture of how it could start to take shape. It could start to put pressure on one of these two top squads to fall down. Next is Group E, and Group E I ended up having a bit more eyes on. Obviously, I am a Liverpool fan, and Liverpool went down 1-0 initially to LASK. It was one of the earlier kickoffs in the day, and I got the notification 14 minutes in that they scored, and I was texting some friends, and basically, I was asked of a score prediction, and I said it's going to finish 3-1. It's obviously going to finish 3-1. This is before the match. This is before Liverpool conceded. But, Liverpool didn't look too great in, the start of the game, from what I heard, and from what I was I was tuning in here and there to just check up on the scores and what was happening. Bajcetic started at right back. He apparently did really solid at right back as well. Endo had a debut. Ben Doak had a game. Ben Doak didn't have the best of games, but we saw goals from Darwin Nunez, which was a penalty, Luis Diaz, and a very tidy finish by Mo Salah. Ryan Gravenberch got an assist as well, so that's always nice to see. Good victory for Liverpool. Following that, Union Saint-Gilloise and Toulouse ended up finishing 1-1. Toulouse took the lead in the 48th minute of the first half. So 3 minutes of stoppage time had occurred when they scored their penalty. Goal from Chij Dalinga. I hope I pronounced that right. But we saw Union St. Gelos end up getting a goal from Mohamed Amora in the 69th minute, which ended up seeing the game finish 1-1. Union St. Gelos do have Alexis McAllister's brother, so the match between Liverpool and Union St. Gelos could be an absolutely interesting spectacle, which is the next match at Anfield. So October 5th, stay tuned, because Alexis McAllister's brother, Kevin McAllister, yes, I know, Kevin McAllister, just like Home Alone, they're probably going to face off. He's a defender. Alexis is a midfielder. So it's going to be an interesting affair. I'm going to love to see that. But following that, we have Group F, which was another group that had some interesting upsets. I mean, first off, you have Rennes at the top of the group. They won 3-0 against Maccabi Haifa. A goal in the first minute, actually, from Ludovico Blas. Adrian Trufer ended up scoring in the 31st, and a goal from Bertug Yildirim in the 55th saw off Maccabi Haifa. Tough loss for them away from home, but an even tougher loss away from home is probably the 2-0 loss of Villarreal to Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos, Greek side. I don't follow too much of the Greek league, but they are one of those Greek sides that ends up making it, further into kind of European fixtures, like with the likes of, say, AEK Athens or Olympiacos. But a good win for them against a Villarreal side who, honestly, who's even playing there this season? Wow, their squad looks so different to last season. I forgot they have Pepe Reina in goal, who's 41, mind you, and Ben Brereton Diaz, the Chilean international, up top. But interesting results there. In this group, let's see who has to face off next. Yeah, so if Rennes could get a victory against Villarreal, that would be a huge boost for them. Especially if Maccabi Haifa could, manage a draw against Panathinaikos. We'll see how this group unfolds, but Villarreal could be in for a shock here. Group G, the second to last group, we have Slavia Prague topping the group and Roma in second place. Roma won 2-1 against Sheriff. I'm pretty sure Sheriff was one of the sides that Roma faced in the Conference League or Europa League a few seasons ago. But an own goal from Kiki in the 49th minute of the match, 45th plus 4 minutes. So it was in the first half. And a 65th minute goal for Lukaku were the goals. And Tovar scored in the 57th minute for FC Sheriff. Following that, there's also the Servette versus Slavia Prague game. Servette's a Swiss side, and they weren't able to win at home. They lost to Slavia Prague, and there were goals from Masopust in the 32nd and Ogbu in the 59th. Let's see who faces off in this group. We have Roma versus Servette and Slavia Prague versus Sheriff. Yeah, so if both sides, I would probably favor both of, Roma and Slavia Prague to end up winning their matches, which would give them very good advantages going into their clash in match day 3. But following that, we have the final group, Group H. Bayer Leverkusen tops it, and my oh my, Bayer Leverkusen won by an astonishing 4-0. Xabi Alonso just doing amazing stuff over there, and just credit to him. Goals from Wirtz, Adli, Bonifaz, and Hoffman ended up seeing off Haken. And then Wabarg, FK, and Molde ended up facing off in Azerbaijan. There was a goal from Andrade in the 56th, which separated the two sides. And let's see, who do they face? So Molde faces Bayer, so that's going to be a big match for them. And Haken, this is really their only chance, I think. You just ship 4 goals in your first match, and you're really going to need to bounce back here. But who knows? I don't know too much about Qarabağ besides the fact that they have Yassine Benzia, which is kind of astonishing to me. But anyways, that is match day 1, match week 1, whatever you want to call it, of the UEFA Europa League for the 23-24 season. Group stage is going to be very engaging. I'm going to give you as much coverage as I possibly can of all of it. So stay tuned. If you end up making it this far, consider subscribing and make sure to comment down below what you thought of match day 1. Like the video if you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sideline Sedo. Peace.